Twomad has almost routinely just absolutely demolished his career, going from beloved creator to lol cow. Keeping things short in this video, Twomad got exposed as being an alleged stalker by a woman named Bella. Most of the claims related to stalking being a general POS to more specific claims of SA. Since that time, Twomad has gotten embroiled in a lawsuit against Bella, funded by a longtime Twomad detractor and YouTuber Jameskii. This lawsuit is over the stalking and harassment, with the SA being a prop-up by Bella's legal argument. Another important point is that this is a civil case, and it's about stalking and harassment, not the SA. Twomad has routinely poisoned the well by saying how this is a criminal case that's happening, but we'll get into the specifics of this more because there's been some updates. Twomad in late September had a court appointment, and this was some of the first details we had gotten in months regarding this. So what happened to the man, and what can we glean from all this? First, I gotta give you some more legal jargon for us to understand everything. So what's a TRO? Well, a TRO stands for Temporary Restraining Order. Let's say you're dealing with a situation where someone is causing you a lot of stress or fear, maybe due to harassment or threats. A TRO, Temporary Restraining Order, is a legal tool you can use to create some distance and protect yourself. Imagine a coworker who's making your office life a nightmare. You're constantly on edge, it's affecting your well-being. You can go to a court, and then you can request a TRO against that person. If the judge grants it, the coworker is legally required to stay away from you, both at work and maybe even in other places. This provides you with temporary breathing room until a more permanent solution is figured out. Or let's say you're in an abusive relationship, which is probably where a lot of you understand the concept of a restraining order. You need time to sort all these things out, ensure your safety and all of that, and a TRO can work like a legal shield, preventing that abusive partner from coming near you or contacting you. In a nutshell, a TRO is a legal timeout that adults can use when they're dealing with situations where someone's behavior is crossing serious boundaries. It's a way to create immediate protection while things get sorted out in the legal arena in more serious long-term ways. So after you get one of these TROs, there's usually a court hearing scheduled for a later date where both parties get to be present and present their own side of the story. During this hearing, the judges review the evidence and listen to both perspectives. They decide what to take, whether or not the TRO needs to be more permanent or anything else. This is called a permanent restraining order. I know, really original naming. For it to become permanent, you typically need to demonstrate to the judge that there is a continuing need for protection. This might involve presenting evidence, witnesses, documents, all that stuff, including your own testimony, which is taken into account. If the judge believes that there's a threat or harm going on and it warrants a more lasting solution, they might issue a permanent restraining order. So in essence, the process involves moving from a quick temporary solution to a more carefully considered and long-lasting decision based on a thorough examination of the evidence and situation during a court hearing. That's a lot of what's happening in court right now. The other angle of this is Bella seeking damages for her time with Twomad. I should also mention that from the outside looking in, this is all moving very slowly. There's a couple reasons for this. One, this is happening in LA, which is notoriously overcrowded with legal cases. Procedure could be taking a while, so basically the attorneys have lots of paperwork and stuff to submit, which can slow stuff down too. Lastly, this case could actually be pretty complex. The angle of social media celebrity, all of Twomad's tweeting, all of that could increase case complexity and increase the amount of time that it takes for this to reach a permanent resolution. So coming out of Bella's camp, they say that the hearing was rescheduled, and really the reasons mentioned are exactly why it could have been rescheduled. Bella said during the day of the hearing, quote, "I have an active and enforceable restraining order in place that has been approved in full and signed by the judge against Twomad. The hearing was rescheduled, and that is all. It is a TRO petition, not a lawsuit." I should say that even if it's a TRO petition, this is basically them submitting evidence why they feel a TRO is necessary. This basically helps build a case. It's the first step toward a more permanent restraining order. I should also mention in the legal documents, despite her saying that it's not a lawsuit, there was the discussion of potential damages and pursuing compensation for them, though there could be something that is not addressable to the public yet that I don't have access to. So we'll just leave that up in the air for now. Jameskii, who's bankrolling this whole thing, also gave a quote. He said, quote, "Unlike the deceptive info that has been spread by certain people, the restraining order is real and in place. To ensure the safety of the victims, I will refrain from making or sharing other details as the situation develops. Just remember that the order that prohibits an individual from being in a proximity of certain places exists for a reason. Stay safe," end quote. Before I explain why Twomad can schizopost without being penalized, make sure to buy Mana Potion Coffee. We sell coffee and tea, not candles right now. They blew up and I'm covered in pain and burns. I'm recording this at 1 a.m. because I made candles. Okay, so Twomad tweets a lot. In fact, I'm sure all of this tweeting is going to end up playing a role in this entire case. A lot of his tweets are about the case, and he can do that technically. I think by now, Twomad is a US citizen, and if you didn't know, you have rights. The Constitution says you do, and so do I. Really, Twomad has a right to free speech and can say whatever he wants on his own personal time. Now, whether or not him speaking into the wind is the best legal strategy, I don't know. Based on his talks with Tom Dark, I imagine his lawyer wants him to not speak ever. However, as long as he isn't interacting with Bella, he can keep speaking into the void or saying whatever the hell he wants. However, given his status as an internet celebrity, this is probably reaching Bella. So whether or not this could end up constituting a violation of a TRO is up for debate. There was also this tweet exchange. I personally argue it would violate it by this point, but this would need to be hashed out in court anyway, and I'm not going to pass judgment on a pair of tweets, really. Looking at the court documents, the hearing was indeed rescheduled by the respondent. Again, the respondent in all of this means that they're talking about Twomad. Twomad rescheduled to December 5th for an evidentiary hearing. Many people were confused why Twomad constantly talked about crime and how he might go to prison. The next quote is exactly why that is the case. The previous hearing date was continued by joint request and stipulation. Since that time, both parties have worked to actively resolve the matter without having a full hearing. Petitioner's counsel informed Respondent's counsel on Saturday, 9/23, they no longer wish to resolve the matter and instead wish to proceed to an evidentiary hearing. Counsel is not prepared to proceed on such short notice. Moreover, and perhaps more importantly, there's a pending criminal investigation for very serious strike offenses. As such, Respondent Twomad is forced to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights and cannot proceed. Moreover, Petitioner's counsel has not provided any discovery evidence or witnesses to Respondent. Lastly, Respondent's counsel is engaged in criminal felony court with several matters and cannot proceed at this time. So they mentioned strike offense in there, and I can't repeat most of these things, but that's what a strike offense is. You know, if you were to tell me when I was 18 that I would be 25 and combing through court documents about crime, I wouldn't believe you. Okay, so let's read the room here. This kind of changes the landscape significantly. Invoking your Fifth Amendment rights is basically to prevent you from self-incrimination and your right to remain silent. With this change, we can expect both sides to move forward towards an evidentiary hearing, where more information is going to be formally laid out to the court and the public. The main goal of an evidentiary hearing is for the judge to consider evidence before making a decision on a specific case issue. It's like a mini trial focused on a particular aspect of a larger legal dispute. I gotta be honest, I kind of thought the two parties would have reached an agreement, but given the state of everything now, I could see Twomad being wrapped up in legal drama well into the next year. The last thing of note was Twomad posting DMs to the public surrounding the alleged SA incident. Now, with these, I don't know why it took so long. I should also say the two parties have conflicting stories. Twomad argues the encounter was consensual, she does not. So this exchange is related to that alleged encounter where Bella gave oral stimulation towards Twomad. Bella said, quote, "Yeah, I enjoyed, you looked happy, that made me happy." Later in the convo, Twomad states, "You looked pissed, bro. Angy." In response, she then says how she was actually anxious. Now, the rest is just like my opinion, man, but people treat this as like the smoking gun for innocence or guilt regarding Twomad. The point is, neither of us were there, and the idiosyncrasies and specifics of their relationship still kind of aren't known to the public. So I think these messages are a matter of perspective, and you could argue it either way based on the surrounding evidence. In favor of Twomad, the dialogue here sounds like two people discussing a consensual sexual encounter that they both enjoyed, albeit eternally online internet zoomer, so the dialogue is cringe and a little awkward. The argument against Twomad is that using context clues like "you looked angry, I was anxious" could be consistent with the theory that this was SA by coercion, given Twomad has explained how he would basically neg her for sex, and other videos portraying Twomad as emotionally stunted incel are existing and online, and you can find them. In my opinion, as stated in my prior video, I've continued to hear nothing good about Twomad behind the scenes. He's weird, antisocial, has a bad relationship with sex and intimacy, and is generally a piece of shit. He's entitled to be all of those things, but it does him no favors for trying to win people over. Catch me live right now. I'm sure Twomad will subtweet about me because he's done it before. Make sure to subscribe and go over to the Diesel IRL right now. Go!